Jim Ellis, but everyone calls me Elroy, and I'm the host of Firefighter Gourmets. After 20 years as a firefighter, I found that I've got a passion for both the job and for cooking, and that's why I created this show. Today, I'm in Cerrito, Arizona, which is halfway between Tucson and the Mexico border. Let's go inside and start cooking, shall we? Today, we're going to be making a south-of-the-border spin on an American classic. Here to help me is one of my co-workers and today's co-cook, Nico Latini. What are we making today, Nico?
Jim, today we're going to be doing a turkey chipotle meatloaf sandwich with a coleslaw top. I like to make things that feed a lot of guys and are pretty simple to do at the fire station, mainly because we get calls and I got to be able to figure out a way to cook and run calls at the same time.
And that's actually kind of one of the things that we want to do here at Firefighter Gourmets, is making simple meals that taste great, that are on a budget, because most of the time we're keeping it to like a $5 to $10 kitty throughout the station. At our station, we all put in $20, and that goes through all 3 of our shifts. And so we got to be able to cook our dinners, any snacks we want, got to pay for creamer, coffee, all the other good stuff. So simple, on a budget, and tastes great. That's the key of what we're going to be doing here at Firefighter Gourmets. All right, so today we're going to start off with the coleslaw, right?
Right, so it's a 3-part sandwich. You got your meatloaf, the glaze, and the coleslaw. I like to do the coleslaw first, that way it can marinate all day in the fridge and the flavors can melt together. You need 1 head of red cabbage, a head of green cabbage, 2 bunches of green onions, and 2 bunches of radishes. I already started doing some prep work here, so we've got the green already cut up, and I'll show you what I do with that with the red. It doesn't matter how you guys cut this stuff up or what order you decide to put it in, as long as it all gets in there. So just slice your cabbage in half, and then I like to quarter it as well.
And you can use a food processor as well to cut up your cabbage. You know, you use one of the settings and actually like julienne it down, or just chop it up if you want a more fine coleslaw. He likes to go with a really thin set, so it's really thin, long chunks.
I do, so I use this Miracle Blade that I've got here. Obviously, you're gonna wanna wash all your veggies before you start cutting anything, which I've already done. And I just make some nice thin slices here. And again, nothing has to be perfect, however you wanna cut it. If you wanna get a big knife in here and just start cutting it up with a big knife, you could take it and chop it into smaller pieces, dice it up, it really doesn't matter. I just prefer nice, long, thin slices of cabbage. And
this is something that we would do at the beginning of the shift. You know, we get our truck checks done, make sure everything's ready to go for the day, then we go ahead and throw this and get this all put together. Again, that way all those flavors, they meld together. It's gonna make a thicker, richer coleslaw to top our sandwich with later on tonight when we eat dinner. And a lot of times when we're cooking this also, we'll get a bunch of the crew in there. You know, there'll be 2 or 3 of us in the kitchen, all kind of getting something together.
Get out of my kitchen when I'm cooking. Jim likes help. I'm selfish. I like to just do things myself, but it doesn't really matter. It's pretty easy. There's a lot of different prep work here. So if you want, you can have a couple different guys come in and help you. Have one guy do your cabbage. Another guy can do the radishes and the onions. The onions are pretty simple. What you do with the green onions is all you need to do is just cut the ends off, the root that's there. Once you do that, you're going to want to dice these up into just thin little dime or nickel width slices here. And you're going to throw all these right in there as well. With the radishes, I like to make them look like slivers. There's a lot of radishes, probably about 30, 40 radishes or so. Like I said, just get 2 bunches from the store. You cut either end off, and I take everything and I just throw them into a food processor. And once they start looking like that, you're pretty much good to go. throw those in there too. So what we'll do now, Jim, is we'll just finish dicing the rest of this stuff up, and then once we're done with that, we'll move over to the wet ingredients.
All right, so now the coleslaw is melting in the fridge, and we'll pull that out tonight when it's time to eat. Now we're gonna jump into the next part, which is getting the meatloaf going. Nico, what do we have to put in this meatloaf?
So I'm doing a double batch, which I probably forgot to mention to you guys earlier. We're feeding almost 15 guys tonight, so we'll put the recipe on the website for you guys so you can figure out how to work. But this is a double batch. I got 6 pounds of ground turkey in here. We've got 3 onions diced up, about 6 tablespoons of garlic, 6 eggs, a can of chipotle peppers, and then over here we've got 2 cans of diced tomatoes, a little bit of cumin, some breadcrumbs. I like to use a Chinese style tempura breadcrumb.
Or Japanese style.
Yeah, Japanese style. That's right. They are the ones that make sushi, right? And some soy sauce. We're gonna mix all that together in here, and then we'll throw that in the fridge, and we'll move on to the glaze. So start by throwing in some onion. And as far as the breadcrumbs go, if you prep this earlier in the day and you're gonna let it sit, which you can, the longer it sits, the hotter the chipotle are gonna get into the meat. Don't add the breadcrumbs in. What I do is I add the breadcrumbs in right before I'm about to put it in the oven. That way they don't get too soggy.
They'll stay crunchy that way. And if you don't have the Japanese style, you can use regular breadcrumbs, but this is going to give it a different texture, different flavor. Also, with the chipotle peppers, I didn't know this until I looked it up. We'll wait for them to get that done. Right now, we're just going to puree those chipotle peppers in a bottle sauce.
Did you want to talk real quick, Jim? I'm sorry. Go ahead, man.
No, go ahead. Finish it up. I insist.
I'm done.
You sure?
Yeah.
You sure?
Yeah, I'm
all right. So with the chipotle, and that's all I got to know. No, but seriously. It turns out that the green jalapeno peppers that we get in the stores are actually not quite ripe yet. They actually ripen up and turn red. I didn't know that. The chipotle peppers, what they do is they actually dry them out, and then they put them in this tomato and seasoned sauce, and that's what the abado is. And they smoke it after they pulled off the vines. So it's dried up, actual ripe jalapenos that they then smoke, and then they put it into the abado sauce. So learn something new every day. All right, so we got pretty much everything in here.
If you want to grab a measuring spoon, we're gonna go with for the cumin.
3 tablespoons.
3 tablespoons of cumin.
3 teaspoons.
Or teaspoons.
And for those that don't know, the cumin's what gives you that really, I guess, cuminy flavor in chilies. I didn't know that until we made chili for the cook-off. I didn't realize that was the flavor that gives you that smell and that flavor. All right, 3 of those.
And do 6 teaspoons of the soy sauce.
I actually have to count this.
Yep.
This might take a while.
It's a squeeze.
1, 2, 3. Yes, I'm counting out loud, folks. 4.
And again, like I said, I do everything by sight. So I'm going to start mixing this up before I add the other can of tomatoes in, just to make sure that it's not too runny. And if it's perfect the way it is, I'll leave it and I'll just add that other can of tomatoes into the glaze.
All right, so this time we're using 6 pounds of turkey. What made you decide to go with turkey instead of ground beef?
I've always used the ground turkey just because it's a little bit leaner, healthier for you. Try to eat healthy at the fire station, keep the guys fit.
But if someone doesn't want turkey, they can go with the ground beef, correct?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Right. We also chopped up a bunch of onions for this and learned something from one of the guys here at the station. I guess if you light a candle next to the onions while you're cutting it up, it actually reduces the vapors from the onions and won't cause you to tear up as much.
Jim keeps a candle in his bedroom by his nightstand, so I just used that one while I was cutting up some onions.
Yeah, I have no response for that one.
I think this consistency is pretty good, Jim, so I'm going to just use that other can of tomatoes for the glaze, which is a little bit more important anyways. So here's our finished product. Just looks like a bunch of ground up turkey in a bowl with some onion, garlic, cumin, soy sauce. And I'm going to just throw this in the fridge, and we're going to make the glaze. And right before I'm ready to put it in the oven, I'll throw in the breadcrumbs. We'll mix that up, make our loaves out of it, and throw it in the oven.
All right, so while the turkey mixture is setting up in the fridge, we're just going to let that sit for a little while we make this glaze. I'm gonna turn back to the stove where Nico's working on the glaze now. What you got going back there, Nico?
So Jim, we're gonna do the glaze now. What I got here is 4 cans of tomatoes, of diced tomatoes. We've got 6 tablespoons of brown sugar. The rest of my little honey bear jar here, should be approximately 6 tablespoons of the sugar or the honey as well. If you want to come help me out here, Jim, you can throw the other ingredients in. We need to do 6 teaspoons of the soy sauce and 6 teaspoons of the Dijon mustard. And what you're going to do is we're going to let that simmer here on the stove, a very mild boil basically. And what we're trying to do is we're going to break down all the sugar, and it's going to simmer until all that sugar breaks down and boils off. The sugar is going to liquefy as it gets hot. It'll evaporate, and the sauce is going to start thickening up. And once it starts to thicken up, you know it's done. It takes about 20 minutes or so. You'll just take that off the heat. We'll pull the meatloaf out of the fridge, add our breadcrumbs to that, make our loaves, and then we'll add the glaze on top of that and throw them in the oven and get them ready to cook. So I'll tell you what, Jim, why don't you switch me here? Come,
all right, so I know this is going to take a little while, and I'm not going to make you guys sit there and watch us stir this down for 20 minutes. Just know that you're going to want it to thicken up. You're going to keep stirring it. You don't want it to burn. When do you throw the chipotles in there?
Oh, good question. That's funny. Missed that completely. So we've got 2 cans of the chipotles over here as well. You're going to want to puree them real good. I pureed them already while we were prepping stuff out, so that's done. Add your chipotles in now at the same time as everything else. I just missed those.
Just take a fork, kind of sift through it a little bit, make sure you got like any of the big chunks. You don't want any like big chunks in there. Worst case scenario, if you get some big chunks in there, right before you start cooking it up, just pull those out.
Hand me that spatula over there, Jim. It's okay if you have a full chipotle pepper that didn't get minced up. It's not a big deal. It's just not going to be a runny glaze. So if you can get those all to puree and turn into a paste, that's what you're looking for. All right.
Okay, so through TV magic, we'll come back in a couple minutes when this is all cooked down and show you what the finished glaze looks like. All right, so that's been simmering now for about 20 minutes. We're going to have Nico bring it over and show you what the sauce looks like. While that was cooking up, we went ahead and put all the breadcrumbs into the turkey mixture and loafed it up. Again, these are going to be 3-pound loaves each. So what's the next step here, Nico?
So the next step is we're going to just put the glaze on top of each one of these loaves. One thing I don't think we talked about before with the glaze is, as you probably noticed, there's no ketchup going on here. This is a Chipotle meatloaf. It's not a ketchup meatloaf, so evenly spread out your glaze on both of them. Go back and forth a couple times if you need to there or whatever.
And again, because this is the Chipotles, this is going to have that smoky flavor, and it's going to have a little bit of a bite to it. So if you got any guys on your crew that don't really do the spicy too well, this might not be the meal for them. We got a couple of those guys that hit our station every now and then. You
can, for lack of a better term, I guess, you can dumb this down. You don't have to use, so altogether we've got 3 cans of Chipotles going on here. You can just do it with 1 can of Chipotles if you want, and just add more tomato instead. And that way it won't be as spicy. I've changed this recipe multiple times since I first started cooking it, and there's no jalapenos in there. A couple other things that I choose not to add in there that was in the original recipe. So practice with it, do it a couple times, see what you like, what your crew likes, and go from there.
And guys, you don't have to go like step by step with what we have here. If you guys want to change something up, add something, take something out, it's up to you. That's what the great thing about cooking at the firehouse. You just kind of mix it up. Sometimes you got to just wing it. One of the things you could also do is, if you do have, say, 2 or 3 guys that aren't really into the spicy, you can make one without the Chipotles altogether. Everything else is there minus the Chipotles, and then do the other one with just the tomatoes.
From there, we're going to throw them in the oven, 350 degrees, 365, for about an hour to an hour and a half-ish.
All right, everything's all cooked up. We've had the coleslaw in the fridge. It's all ready to go. We had the meatloaf in the oven. How long do we have it in there for, Nico?
About an hour to an hour and a half at 350 to 365. I guess it depends on elevation and all that funky stuff. So somewhere in there will work. Just take a butter knife. Looks done to me. You're good to go.
All right, and what's a crew dinner without the crew himself? So guys, why don't you come on in here and pony up next to a sandwich while Nico makes up another one here. While they're doing that, I'll remind you guys, you can find out all these recipes, including this one, on the Facebook page. Check us out there. There's going to be more videos, more recipes. It's also a great place if you've got a great recipe you want to share, throw it on there. I'll try to put it back up there for you. Nico's going to get this one served up. You guys go ahead and dig in. Tell me what you guys think.
All right.
And again, it's going to be FF Gourmets on Facebook. We're also on Twitter, so check us out there.
Very good. Very good, Nico.
Thanks, guys. Who else needs a sandwich? Cap, come get some food.